Hi everyone. Yes, so Latin American Histories in the United States, Module 1. So Latin American Histories in the United States, Module 1. This is an exciting resource compiled from multiple archives located across the United States, providing users with access to primary sources describing various community experiences during the mid to late 20th century and indeed beyond into the early 21st century in some cases, with a focus on underrepresented identities. This module contains a wide range of materials sourced from 4 archives: California State University Dominguez Hills, University of California San Diego, the Dominican Studies Institute at the City University of New York, and the GLBT Historical Society of San Francisco, focusing on grassroots and community-generated archival collections. The primary sources in this resource describe the everyday life experience of community members, including, but not limited to, how individuals and communities fought for their rights during the Civil Rights era, the development of distinct political and community identities, the formation of growth of labour unions such as the United Farm Workers of America, and indeed various other interest groups representing various different communities. There's a lot on culture, there's a great deal on community media, and there's some fantastic material on the distinct genres of the arts and the theatre, which the community's covered in this resource. Created, encouraged, all of the above. So I thought a good place to start would be the broad range of themes covered in this resource. If we were to just look at one collection from one archive featured in this database, we might start with the K. Briegel Chicano periodicals collection from California State University Dominguez Hills. So within just that collection from one archive, we've digitized content produced by groups as varied as students, academic research groups, labour unions, chambers of commerce, federal government agencies, and religious organisations. The range of subjects covered in that one collection is equally broad: heritage, activism, entrepreneurship, international news, community events, healthcare, education, fashion, film and sport are just some of the subjects being discussed. And these periodicals were produced across the United States. Pretty much every region and a majority of the states are represented here. We get the perspectives, therefore, of various different communities, sometimes as small as just a newspaper covering one part of a city, and most importantly, I think, in their own words. Moving on to the arts and culture, from UCSD, we have the papers of Jorge Huerta, which provide us with a corpus of material relating to the intellectual life of a distinct part of the community, and a great deal on the theatre, in particular the distinct genre of Chicano theatre, covering its growth as an art form. You've got details of touring productions, you've got extensive production records there as well. Also from UCSD, we have the papers of the Border Art Workshop, also known as the Taller de Arte Fronterizo, with apologies for my pronunciation, which provide us with insight into the idea of political activism through artistic expression. And this project was a transnational one which sought to turn the border between the United States and Mexico into an artistic hotspot, building links between people living on either side of the border. So we have a really great range of material concerning contributions to the arts here. We also have materials that allow users to survey intersectional perspectives. So what do I mean? Well, we have material relating to people who fall into more than one different demographic here. So we have material relating to women, we have material relating to LGBTQ plus community members, we have material from people from a wide range of different economic and employment backgrounds. So a really great example of this are the papers of Sylvia Cohan from the GLBT Historical Society. They give us insights into her life as an artist, as an activist and a musician, as well as her experience as a lesbian member of the Argentinian American community. Our materials from the GLBT Historical Society, I should add at this point, provide information on all manner of subjects, stuff on daily life, stuff on community activism. There's extensive material relating to the HIV/AIDS crisis of the 80s and 90s. So, really very broad range of community life, different aspects of life, all sorts of experiences are covered here, and very often from a personal perspective. We also have a really diverse range of different kinds of sources in this resource. Again, you can just see the variety of content, which will give researchers access to so many different viewpoints, so many different aspects of people's lives in so many different ways. I've already mentioned periodicals sourced from CSU Dominguez Hills, but also got a range of other material from CSU Dominguez Hills relating to, say, the United Farm Workers Labour Union. There's material relating to family life. We have family collections, including the papers of a Vietnam War veteran, Vincent Frank Chavez. They cover his youth, his military service, his family life. There's a lot of great photographs in there. From CSU Dominguez Hills, we've also sourced recordings of community radio programs. So there's a lot of stuff to do with community outreach in there from the 1970s. We've also digitized a wide range of artifacts and visual sources from all of the contributing archives. These include protest artwork, slides, photographs, and high-resolution captures of a range of clothing artifacts. So there are slogan T-shirts, ballet shoes, jewelry, costumes, and a rather strange one, but really brilliant piece from the papers of Miss Coco Lopez, who was a drag artist, an inflatable doll that's dressed as Fidel Castro. So you can see the serious, the satirical, and the joyful aspects of life. They can all be surveyed here in this broad range of material that will suit all varying different research methodologies. I thought it would also be nice to highlight a couple of the archival collections, which we at AM have found really interesting because of the personal experiences they describe. The first of these is the Normandia Maldonado collection from the Dominican Studies Institute. So Ms. Maldonado was the founder of the Centro Cultural Ballet Quisqueya and was a co-founder of the Club Cívico y Cultural Juan Pablo Duarte, known as the Instituto Duarteano en Nueva York, which is the second oldest Dominican organization in New York City. Maldonado arrived in the US in 1960, and she's had a really varied career as a musician, dancer, teacher, and a community organizer. Her papers include professional correspondence dating from the early 1960s up to the year 2000. There are financial papers, photographs, and a huge range of content related to parades and festivals. A really wonderful collection for researchers of social and cultural history. Meanwhile, the George Ryer collection, the George Ryer papers from the GLBT Historical Society, document political organization and social networking within the gay community in California, particularly during the 70s and 80s. Raya is on the left of this photograph. His papers comprise correspondence, ephemera, drafts of legislation, material relating to student politics, and once again, some brilliant photographs. It covers a really wide range of subjects, and his letters include exchanges with city, state, and federal level politicians. And they highlight his involvement in a range of different causes. These range from Ed Muskie's campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination to a selection of human rights campaigns. There's a really great collection here for those interested in LGBTQ history and also for political history there. So just one last slide from me. For those who attended last year's webinar, you may recall hearing about Mexico and history, which is comprised mainly of Spanish language sources and includes supporting content in both English and Spanish. This database is a little different. Around 25% of the resource is documents that are entirely in English, another 20% are documents that are entirely in Spanish, and then you have the remaining 55% or thereabouts, which contain material in both English and Spanish, many of which are actually bilingual and generally periodicals. So, there are a lot of documents which have both English and Spanish content, but actually a fair number of these will have Spanish and English language versions of the same text. So the difference of content in English and Spanish, this means that the collection is really accessible to a really wide audience. Users who can read both Spanish and English will be able to compare English and Spanish language versions of an individual text, and they'll be able to make their own translations, which I think is a really great thing people will be able to do. And with this in mind, our split screen viewer comparison tool will be available for users who want to be able to compare the same text in different languages side by side. We'll also be including, again, much like Mexican history, supporting content in both Spanish and English. So, for example, we have a range of contextual essays in this resource, and there will be English and Spanish language versions of these. All these essays are by subject specialists, and they're intended to introduce students and researchers to the primary sources and some of the key movements and phenomena they describe. We'll also include in both English and Spanish guidance on searching the database and on some of the document highlights as well. A range of metadata will also be translated to aid searching in both English and Spanish. We'll also be utilising upgrades to our web platform to produce optimum Spanish language transcripts and improve Spanish language searching. So both the primary sources and guidance on using them will be as accessible and as discoverable as possible for as large a number of users as possible. So I feel this is a really, really wonderful resource. There's so much material in here. It covers so many different subject areas. And I'm certain that people will really enjoy engaging with it and the huge variety of material there is to be found there.